Hello and welcome to INSZoom webinar. This is Arun Rajagopalan, Customer Success Manager at INSZoom. So while we give a few more minutes for more people to join, let's look at some of the webinar guidelines. What you see over here is that you would have realized by now, if you're new to our webinar, you would have noticed that you are on mute. So if you hear a kid screaming at the background, that would probably be my son, and I apologize in advance. Now, for any questions, we encourage you all to use the chat feature, which you'll find to the right of the screen of the GoToWebinar option. So please feel free to add questions as when the session is going on, and we would spend some time towards the end of the session to answer all your questions. Now, if you're not able to answer all your questions, we will email all the attendees with the question and answer by Thursday, which is the May 14th, before the end of the day. The other guideline is that if you like to meet someone to discuss about these features after the webinar, you can either call or email me if you do have my contact details, or you can email to csm@INSZoom.com. That's Charlie, Sam, Mike, csm@INSZoom.com. And apart from that, we also have poll questions after each topic. We just want to know if you're interested about these modules. So the poll questions will pop up on your screen for you to choose an answer. And if this is your first time, why don't we go ahead and try it out? So let me go ahead and launch a poll question for you to try to answer this question. All right, so it's a little difficult question, but you can give it a try. So how much does a polar bear weigh? You have 4 options over there. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to answer this question. The objective is to make sure you all know how to respond to these poll questions. So it'll be easy for you to answer the poll questions for each topic. All right, another 20 seconds. Okay, almost. We have almost all the participants responding. I'm going to give another 10 seconds. If you haven't tried it, you can give it a try. By now, the Google would have already answered your question if you searched Google. All right, I'm going to stop it. So again, please keep in mind the objective of these poll questions to see if you're interested in our modules that we're going to explain today. So without further delay, let's go ahead and look at what we have outlined for today. So we have the first topic on multi-factor authentication, which is nothing but additional layer of authentication that you can add for your case workers or for your clients. We're going to also talk about single sign-on, which is again one login for all the platform or application that your team is using. One of the new features we introduced and really cool function is the one-time passcode, which we're going to talk about. There's nothing but email authentication as well. And then, of course, the most popular module that most of our clients use right now is the EConsent. So we're going to talk about that as well. So before we start with our agenda, let's look at the presenters who is lined up for today. So starting with me, this is Arun Rajagopalan, Customer Success Manager at INSZoom. I have 14 years of experience working for client relations and the client-facing team. Out of 14 years, I've spent 6 years with INSZoom working for training and implementation, and of course the support team as well. Now I'm currently focused more towards our existing clients with adoption and a return on investment. Now let's look at Christopher's profile. Chris, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Christopher Joseph. I'm a business analyst here at INSZoom with the customer success team. I have a total of 13 years of experience and I come with a background in governance, risk and compliance. What that essentially means is I know how important it is to keep your data and your privacy secure, right? In INSZoom, I'm currently focused on implementation and onboarding of our customers through digital adoption, all right? Next, we have Shadow Lopez. Shadow.
Oh, hi everyone. I wish all the moms a belated happy Mother's Day. Thank you for making sure we have something to eat during this lockdown. My name is Shadow Lopez and I am the team lead in best practices for implementation at INSZoom. I know it's a long title, but all it is to help help all clients effectively implement INSZoom, maybe your lead generation, your way of communicating with your clients, your ROIs, your remote practices or reports, anything, I am here for you. Ask me how. I bring in a passion and hands-on experience in law firm administration using INSZoom for so many years. So without further delay, let us begin with how you can create a secure environment for both your clients and your office while all of us are working remotely. It is during these uncertain times and maybe the foreseeable futures, while case managers, paralegals, attorneys, all of us, we're all scattered and we're all working in remote locations all over the world. Data privacy is becoming a major concern. INSZoom, as a company, we would like to do our part. We want to help. We want to share a few tips on how you can secure your client data and protect everyone's privacy. So how do we do this? Please follow us along in the next few slides. We will show you some of the many options to protect your staff and your clients. So to begin with, the first is a good way to start is creating work from home policies for your staff, and at the same time being able to protect your clients by using either single sign-on or SSO or multi-factor authentication or MFA. Again, you can ask me how, or you can send a message to us if you want these features implemented for your office. Single sign-on, one password to rule them all. It permits a user to use one set of login name and password to access different apps. This is cool. I really like this feature because, we tend to forget our passwords. Like, I'm a classic example. I don't remember these passwords because there's so many. So if you will have one password to access INSZoom and all other applications that your office is always using. Multi-factor authentication or MFA, on the other hand, it is when case managers or clients can securely access the application from virtually any device or any location without any risk of identity theft or any unauthorized access. How it does it is that the system sends an email or text with a code as a second layer of security when logging in. I will pass the control back to Arun now so he can show us an in-depth look at MFA and SSO. Arun?
Sure, thank you, Shadow. Well, you're not the only one. It's difficult for me to remember my password as well until we introduced a single sign-on feature at INSZoom. So luckily, we have single sign-on for all the apps that we use. Now, well, if you look at my screen, if you look at the slide right now, you would see that these are different type of application, which may be some of the application that your firm use currently. And passwords can be a real nightmare for user to track all these applications. So on an average, users have 4 to 6 application password, and each one have its own password change policy setup. So at INSZoom, we understand the risk of password fatigue and the administrative difficulties for the firms in many applications. And for the same reason, we provide the single sign-on support service. Let's look at how we provide this service. So moving on to the next slide, you would see that part of the support type, we provide the single sign-on through SAML 2.0. For, let's say, if your identity provider is OneLogin, Azure, Okta, or any customized web application built for your firm, or you can do with the ADFS as well if your identity provider is the Active Directory Federated Services. Now, you can initiate the sign-on request from your internal site, or we can generate a unique link which can be used to start the sign-on request. Now, that's a lot of information, but I want you to put your mind at ease. Once you sign up with us, we will make sure that my team will work with your team to set things up. Now, this subscription is not only available for you as a caseworker, or for your case managers, but it's also available for your corporate clients and employees through the HR and Foreign National portal. All right, that's all from single sign-on feature. Like I said in the beginning, if you have any questions and you want us to answer during this webinar or after the webinar, use the chat function over to your right. You can go ahead and put in your questions over there, and we will answer your questions toward the end of the session. Now moving on to our first poll question on single sign-on. So I'm going to go ahead and share the poll question. So will you consider setting up single sign-on feature for your caseworkers? So you have 4 options over there. I'll give you 40 seconds. You can choose one of the options over here. I like the last one. That's what I used to do for several years. Actually, my browser or my system used to save the password, but which is not the best option you can go for, because even when the browser, if you reset your browser, if you upgrade your browser, update your browser, you would go through the same issue again. But then, of course, some of you are still using it. I can see that, which is good. I'm going to give another 10 seconds for you to answer the question. And the 5 seconds, come on, we have almost everyone participating. All right, that's it. Perfect. So thank you so much for answering that poll question. Like I said, if you have any questions about the subscription, or if you need more details, you can add your questions towards the chat, which you'll find on to the right, or you can even connect with us directly after the webinar if you need to. You can email to csm@INSZoom.com. So now I'm going to move on to our next topic, which is my favorite, multi-factor authentication. So before we start with the multi-factor authentication, I want to make sure you all understand, what a multi-factor authentication really means. So multi-factor authentication, or MFA as it more commonly known, combines 2 or more independent set of credentials. So this adds an additional line of defense to make it more difficult for unauthorized person to access your company's resource. Now we can enable multi-factor authentication as a subscription for your caseworkers, just like single sign-on. But again, just like the single sign-on, we can also enable this feature for your corporate clients or employees through the HR or foreign national portal. All right, let's move on to the next slide and show you how exactly it works. So what you see over here is an example of a different layer of authentication. The first image that you see on the left is the login credential, which is a first layer of authentication, which you all have currently and your team currently using to log into INSZoom securely. The second image that you see is the multi-factor, which is the secondary layer of authentication to log into INSZoom. So one of the most common questions that we see in RFP from our prospects, or from your prospects, are related to security. So now your prospect will be satisfied in terms of how secure their information and documents will be, since they all are stored in a highly secure Amazon Web Services. However, the next question will be from the user or the caseworker standpoint, which is what are the different levels of authentication that you use to log into INSZoom. So it is important to be prepared, and let's see what are the options we provide. So going on to the next slide, you would see the option we provide as part of multi-factor authentication. Number one, the first image that you see again onto the left is a one-time passcode that your users would receive after they log in. They can get the one-time passcode sent to their mobile. They can take that passcode, enter into INSZoom to log into INSZoom webpage. If you are not signed up with the text message, or if the user prefer to use the Duo app, they can log into INSZoom by entering the passcode, which is what they receive through the Duo app, or they can go with the push notification, which is the third image. So the option is for the user, but again, this is purely based on subscription. Now you would get the Duo app with the passcode or a push notification, which is the image 2 and 3. But the first image that you see, which is a text message, is a different subscription altogether. But again, if you have any questions related to that, you can ask us and we'll let you know how it will be set up for your law firm. Moving on to the next slide is I want to show you how this actually works. So whenever I talk to my clients regarding the multi-factor authentication, the first question that comes to their mind is how much time do I have to allocate for my IT team to take up this project? Or if it's a firm that does not have an IT team, how much time will it take for my vendor to take up this project? Or the next question would be how much time a caseworker would take to set this up, which is really important. So I want to put your mind at ease. When you're making this decision, it's going to be easy to set up. So I'm going to show you the first thing. What I'm going to show you is how much time a caseworker would take to set this up. Now, obviously, there are a few steps that you would take, but keep in mind, once you sign up with us, we will have a dedicated team walking you through the process. Your first step would be, of course, broadcasting to all the case workers that that you have signed up for multi-factor authentication. So when they log in for the day or for the first time after you have enabled the multi-factor authentication, there would be steps that they need to follow. Now, these steps are guided through the INSZoom webpage, so you don't have to create a separate guide. You don't have to create an article, or you don't have to explain the details in email. It's fairly simple. So I'm going to show you that first part of the video, and then I'm also going to show you towards the end, how much time the admin or the IT person would take just to, set things up for the caseworkers as well. So let me go ahead and play this and show it to you. So what you see over here is that the user already have the login credentials. So they're going to log in with an ID and a password. If they are logging for first time, you already know how that process works. So they log into INSZoom, they get the welcome message letting the user know that they've signed up for multi-factor authentication. Click on the startup. The first option is the text message. So here as an example, I'm going to show you not the text message, but using the Duo app. And then the option is, do you have an iOS or an Android phone? So you select the example, I have an Android phone. And then it's asking, have you installed the Duo app in the mobile? So once you install the Duo app, you can go ahead and sign the barcode. So what you're seeing right now is my mobile. I am going to the Play Store to go ahead and download the Duo app. So once you find the Duo app under the Play Store, you can go ahead and download and install. I have already downloaded before, so it would have taken an additional a minute or two to download. And then once you install the app, it will again guide you how you go about setting up. It's very simple. Just click on Get Started, and all that the user need to do is scan the barcode. So over here, they would scan the barcode, and the app would be connected with the authentication, which is through INSZoom. So you see that the authentication is done. Now, again, if you want to add more devices, you can do that. I'm not sure if you would do that, but then if the user have more than one cell phone and they want to do that, they can do that. So here's an example of the authentication. Now you can do the push notification or the passcode. I took an example of the push notification. So they will go back to the mobile, click on approve, and then they're logged into INSZoom. So it's really simple. That's less than a minute to set things up, so you can see that it's not challenging. Now what you're seeing over here is the admin or an IT team who would go ahead and set up the users through the multi-factor authentication. And it's very simple. The super user or admin or the IT would go to subscription, click on multi-factor authentication, and then they will get to see all the users listed over here. If, let's say, for example, the user changed their phone, they upgraded to the new iPhone or new Samsung phone or any phone for that matter, you can reset the MFA enrollment, which will make the user go through the same setup again, of course, and then that will help them as well. So you see, it's fairly simple to search for the users. We have a search key. We have the option to add users. We have the option to delete any users if needed. So it's very easy to navigate and very easy to manage. That's the most important thing. Now, do you really need an IT person to manage this? The answer is no. However, if you need to, it is easy to manage as well. So again, that's about the multi-factor authentication. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask those questions through the chat. And then, of course, we'll be more than happy to answer the questions as well. All right, so moving on to the next slide, which is our next poll question for MFA. So I'm going to go ahead and share the poll question give you guys 40 seconds to answer the question. All right, so if you decide to implement multi-factor authentication for caseworkers, will you subscribe with or without the SMS or text features? All right, I'm going to give another 20 seconds. Very good. We have more participants responding to this question. The 10 seconds. I like that. There are a few who actually believe they can protect their login credentials with their lives. That is good. All right, so I'm going to give last 5 seconds, guys. Who is left can respond to the poll question. Perfect. Thank you so much for your participation. I'm going to move forward to the next topic. Right now, the next topic would be handled by Shadow and Christopher. Let me just go ahead and change the slide. And before we have Christopher deep dive into these topics, which is OTP and EConsent, I will pass on the deck to Shadow to give a brief overview of what OTP is right now. So Shadow, over to you.
Oh, thank you for those Jason-born vibes on MFA and SSO, Arun. If you have questions again for everyone, please send them our way. So now we go to OTP, or the one-time password. This is becoming very common these days. I'm sure some of you, or almost everyone, has received, an email or a text from your card company to access your bill. It takes you to a secure site and you can access it there. In immigration case management, it is when case managers are ready to send, either questionnaires, your letters, your forms for review to clients. You want to make sure that you maintain a secure communication channel with them using OTP to access a secure site where they can view their files. OTP is one-time password sent via email or text to verify the recipient's identity. It is very important. So in the next slide, Christopher will show us how OTP works.
Thank you for that, Shadow. So just give me 1 second. All right. Thank you for that introduction, Shadow. So what is an OTP? Like Shadow mentioned, all of you would have experienced this at some point in time, whether it's your banking application or whether it's whatever secure system you're using. More or less, you've actually encountered an OTP at some point. It is essentially an additional layer of security added to the authentication process. In INSZoom, it's for our data collection emails to our foreign nationals. When you use INSZoom, you actually send out emails to your foreign nationals and your clients, asking them to fill out questionnaires, provide document checklists, and things like that. Here, these users, before they access these items, earlier they would just get the access code and they would get the email. They would just click the link and they could just copy the access code and paste it, and they have access to the items. This is sensitive data. Using our OTP, we can ensure either through SMS or through an email. Let's say you haven't subscribed to the SMS feature, or you're in an area where you can't access your mobile phone, you can actually get the OTP sent to you via email. This is adding an additional layer of security to ensure that the right person is accessing the information and providing you the right information. All right. Moving on. Now, the question is, why OTP? We already had a system before. Why OTP now? Well, the truth is, OTP is even more important in this day and age. We are getting further and further away, from actually meeting each other face to face. A lot of our interactions are happening completely digital. This actually helps us. This OTP feature actually helps us adhering to, the CCPA regulations on data privacy and security, your GDPR. It actually enhances your security for sensitive information access through emails. a lot of our communication is still happening through emails. You got to ensure that the right people receive the right information and they provide details that we will further provide. As a firm, we would further provide this to the USCIS or whoever else. We are collecting the right information from the right person. This completely enhances the onboarding experience for all your clients. They get a better sense, they feel more secure, they know that we're taking these things very, very seriously. Now, the OTP feature that we'll be discussing right now, this feature is going to be completely, feature is going to completely sunset the existing feature of us providing an access code through your email and then you providing that access code. That's going to stop. Our foreign nationals will now have to actually use the OTP feature to actually access all that information, the questionnaires, the document checklist, whatever you may have. It will be released for all our users of enterprise and professional editions by the end of May 2020. If you like what you see and you would like to implement it sooner, please get in touch with us. We'll be happy to fast track you in the entire process. Now, what I would like to show you here is actually how simple it is to actually set up this OTP feature, or how simple it is to actually use this. This is the experience that your foreign nationals or your HR users or whoever else, your clients, this is the experience that they're going to see or they're going to have when they actually get an email from you and they have to provide information. All right. The first step is to actually go ahead and select your foreign national. When you've selected your foreign national or whoever else, it is critical that we provide the correct email address and the correct mobile number, because the OTP is going to go to both of them. All right. Once the details have been saved, you can go back to your client's case. You can work on the case, and in the case, you can go ahead and create a new email to your client or your foreign national. When you're creating your email, you can go ahead and add questionnaires, document checklists, whatever else you want that you want your foreign national to access, you can go ahead and add all that. Once you're satisfied with the email, you can send the email as normal. At this point, a pop-up will appear. And this pop-up will prompt you to review and update the mobile numbers with country code of recipients for the one-time password delivery. If the mobile number is not updated or incorrect, the one-time password will be sent through the recipient's email. So this is not completely dependent on your mobile number, your foreign national's mobile number. You can send it via email as well. Please note, OTP authentication via text to the foreign national's mobile number is a billable feature, and your firm administrator can subscribe to that. If you don't have it, you can just skip this process and send it via email. Then the foreign national will get the email that you just sent along with the access items button. They can choose to use the access items button, or if not, they can copy and paste the URL into their browser and get to this page. Here, your foreign national can choose the delivery method. They can either choose to send it they can choose to receive the OTP via email or via text. Once they've made their selection, a time-sensitive OTP will be sent to the foreign national through their chosen method of delivery, email or text. For whatever reason, if they require a new one, where maybe the OTP got expired or whatever, they can request a new code. Once provided, they can go ahead and continue setting up their login details. Like everything else, they can provide their password, confirm it, and continue. Once they've created their password and their username, they'll be prompted to log in with a created password and username. Once they log in, they can now access the items that we've sent to them, the questionnaires and everything else. Let's say for whatever reason you would like them to access it at a later point in time. They don't need a second OTP to access it. Once accessed, once the OTP is provided, they've created the username and password. They just need to provide this username and password that they just created to access the items at any later point in time. All right. If they forgot their username and password, there's the option there. They can click that, use the link, and retrieve their username or password that they've created or forgotten. Yeah. And once again, they're back here and they can work on the questionnaire, document checklist, whatever else it is that you send to your foreign national. All right. So that's how simple it is to use the OTP feature. Please remember, you can use it via email, and that's the default way. If you'd like to have the feature and the ability to send OTP via text messages as well, it's a billable feature and it's quite easy to subscribe. All right. If you have any questions, like Arun has been saying all day, please use the chat feature. More than happy to talk about them. All right. At the end of the session. Now, quickly, it is poll time. So right now you'll see a poll question coming up. The poll question is, how would you use the OTP feature for your customers? All right. I'll give you guys a few seconds to make your selections. How about 20 more seconds? 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're golden. All right. Thank you for your participation, everyone. Now, that was all about OTP, one-time password. Next, we have Shadow, who's going to tell us a little bit of a brief on EConsent and why it's important. Shadow, over to you.
Thank you, Christopher. I still use pigeons these days. So now we are ready to start the case. Now, when they signed up, we got the contract signed. We now start collecting client data and the required documents, maybe copies of their passports, their birth certificates, their paychecks, their wedding photos. Client responds and they start sending emails with attachment, or they upload documents to a cloud, or they also start to fill out those questionnaires or forms online. Whatever you provide them, like electronically, you want to make sure that they know, and they agree that while they are doing all these activities online, they are actually allowing you to full access to their most sensitive and confidential information. I cannot emphasize this more. It is not enough to put a one-liner on your retainer agreements. This is a different ballgame. And in many years of my experience, I often see that firms or offices are not really practicing this. They're not using EConsent. It is a simple solution and oftentimes forgotten. Providing an EConsent to your client so they are agreeing to a privacy statement or of truthfulness that you have set. Again, it confirms their identity and they confirm that they agree to your terms. EConsent is really crucial, I promise. So I'm giving back the control to Christopher so he can show us how EConsent works within INSZoom.
Thank you for that, Shadow. Now, just 1 second. Now, Shadow's given us an idea of why EConsent is so important. Now, let's look at EConsent from a module perspective in INSZoom. What is EConsent here? The EConsent feature allows firm staff to capture electronic consent from your clients, foreign nationals, or other stakeholders on different transactions. And now, this just does not have to be agreement policies, privacy policies, terms of service, or statement of truthfulness. It can be any one of these, or it could be all of this. You cannot be limited in this day and age, especially since everything is going digital. You got to ensure that the right person, the right people are actually providing this. And if they're providing information, they're being honest about it, and they're agreeing to our terms of service. So that is where our EConsent module comes in. The INSZoom EConsent module helps us manage this extremely well. Now, why EConsent? Like I was just mentioning, collaboration between firm staff and applicants and foreign nationals are getting digitized. We're not meeting them anymore. In this day and age, with COVID and everything else, we're barely getting to see them. So a lot of this is going to happen digitally. A lot of information clients are going to send via email. They're going to send through courier or whatever else it is. So a lot of these things are going to get digitized, and there's a need to digitize these related agreements, statements, and policies. Now, traditionally, what would happen, EConsent would be a letter in Word or PDF. you would actually physically print this out and you would actually send it to the post office. Then it would go to your foreign national. They would actually take it, then sign it, put it back in another envelope, and send it back to you as a law firm. Now, this is completely online right now. We, using our module, have transitioned this completely online. There is no need to physically print anything. The client, the foreign national, whoever it is, if they're using if they're accessing information like a questionnaire or document checklist, they can provide their e-consent. If they're using a portal, they can still provide their e-consent. This is even more important because data privacy and security is becoming increasingly important. Getting users' consent on terms of agreement, terms of service, statement of truthfulness, etc., is made a lot easier using our e-consent module. I'll show you right now how that actually works in INSZoom. So let me quickly show you how we can actually go ahead and do this. Now, the first step before you go ahead and actually send an e-consent, the first step is actually going ahead and creating your e-consent, your statement of truthfulness, your agreement terms, your privacy, or whatever else it is. The first step is go to knowledge base, and in your knowledge base and other templates, you have your e-consent templates. Here, you can see a list of all the e-consents that have already been created. You can see the version, the different versions of the consent that you've created. You can use the add button to go ahead and add a new e-consent. I've skipped this part, but you can essentially add a title and you can provide the information that you would like the person to provide their consent to. Once you've published this, it is now available in the list. You can use the arrow to once again go back to your e-consent that you've created. You can make any changes that you'd like to. And once you're done with your changes, you can publish it. Now the e-consent is ready for you to be used with your clients or foreign nationals. Here I've selected a foreign national. I've gone to their case. And once under their case, I'm going ahead and creating an email. Now in this email, again, I'm going to go ahead and add a document checklist. I'm going to add, I'm going to add questionnaires. I'm going to add all of this. And once all of this is done, I'm going to actually go ahead and select an e-consent, and I'll select the one we just created, and I'm going to add that to this email that I've created. So now when I go ahead and send this email, the foreign national will get the email providing them the link to access the items. They log in to access the items. But before they can access the items, they will be prompted with the e-consent. At this point, they need to provide accept and continue. If they decline and exit, they don't even get access to the questionnaires and document checklists that we provided. Only once they have provided their consent will they be able to see the questionnaires and everything else that we've already selected in that email. Yeah. Now that is one way of sending an e-consent. We can also send e-consent for our portals. So when you're setting up your portals, you can go ahead and go ahead to your portal defaults or your specific customized for the organization, go to your portal content. Here, you can actually set up your terms of use and your e-consent for both the corporation portal as well as the client or the foreign national portal. Once you've accepted or applied these terms of use to the portals, the next time, once it's done, the next time the user logs into the portal, they'll actually get prompted with this message. Unless they provide accept and continue, they will not be able to continue accessing the portal. They will not be able to see all this good stuff. They will not be able to use the portal. They'll actually be logged out and they can't use the portal if they decline. So the e-consent is very, very useful. It actually helps us to manage, control, and see who's providing consent at any step. So if it's a step of sending questionnaires via an email, we got you covered there. If it's a step of them accessing the portal and providing information, we got you covered there. You can create your own e-consents and you can assign them however you'd like. All right. All right, moving on. Poll time. The next poll question will be on your screen now. How do you currently gather consent? All right. So how do you currently do it? You have your options on your screen. Please go ahead and select it. I'll give you 40 seconds. 30 seconds. $15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're done with the polls. All right, thank you for that. So that's all about OTP and EConsent. Once again, if you have any questions, please use the chat feature. Send your questions our way. We'll be more than happy to answer them. If we can't answer them, like Arun said, we'll get back to everyone via email. All right. Back
Thanks,
to you, Arun.
Christopher. Sure, thanks, Christopher and Shadow. So we did get a few questions. So let's see what we have here. The first question that I see is, does this service be part of enterprise feature or does it cost us? So it's two different questions. Number one, the single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, and the new OTP feature is available in all the edition, which is professional and enterprise. The one feature which is not available in enterprise, one feature that's not available in professional is the EConsent. So if you're looking for the EConsent feature, it is available in the enterprise edition. And all the features that we demonstrated today are add-on features which are billable. So if you're interested to know the cost for each feature, you can just email us. You can see that on the slide. You can email us at csm@INSZoom.com. And if you want to know more in detail about these features, we can set up a time and we can show you how the feature works. I hope that answers all the question. The next question we have is, does the OTP expire within a certain time frame? I think this question came in the beginning, so I think it's more towards the multi-factor authentication. The answer is yes, it does expire if it is after 10 minutes. Christopher, could you add on for the OTP function that we have for email authentication? Is the time frame the same, which is 10 minutes?
It is 15 minutes. It is 15 minutes. It is 15 minutes, and let's say it's time sensitive. It's an OTP after all. It is time sensitive, but like I mentioned earlier, let's say 15 minutes have passed, you had network issues, your phone didn't work, the power went off, whatever reason, your OTP has expired. There is a link right there that says resend a code. You can just click that link, you'll be provided a new fresh one. So you don't need to worry about, oh my God, it got expired or whatever. You can, if you forgot it or if you misplaced the OTP, you can constantly get a new one. Just use the link at the bottom.
Very good. Same applies with the multi-factor authentication. So as a caseworker, if I'm trying to log in or through the portal as well, if I didn't get the message due to bad network, you can resend as well. In fact, there's another question: does the text replace the Duo app installation? Well, it's a choice. You can have both, of course, because you're paying for the service. So if the text, you're not getting the message because of bad network, but you do have a good Wi-Fi and your app is working, then obviously you can go with the second option, which is you can either go with the push notification or you can go with the passcode, which will be available in the app for you to enter into the web to log into INSZoom. So either ways, yes, the OTP would expire, but eventually you can resend it as well. All right, hope that answers the question. The next one is for you, Christopher. Does the OTP feature replace the current setup where the INSZoom email includes the access code, or is this a separate option? So does this OTP replace the access code, or are you going to have both of them?
No, the OTP feature via email will be replacing the access code. That is why we are having a phased out release. We're doing this slowly because we understand a lot of people need some time to get their email templates and everything else changed. So we're doing this in a phase-wise approach. But yes, we will be sunsetting the sending of access codes via email. We will be sunsetting that. The OTP via text, like I mentioned, that is billable. That's a subscription-based, that you can subscribe to that. But the OTP, just if you're not subscribing, you just wanted to come via email, that's going to be a complete replacement of our current functionality, which is us just sending the access code right there in the email. So yes, we will be replacing that.
Excellent. And just to put your mind at ease, we would plan this better. Um, we would give you a heads up if we're going to phase out the old, the traditional way that we currently have with the access code. And we'll give you some time to get used to the new feature, just the way how we have for the new case forms 4.0 that we introduced. We'll give you some time to get used to the function. Also, keeping in mind some of the question that came in about the OTP is, does this feature cost? So the OTP through email versus OTP through the text message. So the email is of no cost. It is part of your current feature that you have, and you don't have to pay anything for it. When it comes to text message, yes, there's a cost involved for that subscription, but you do have both the options. So if you don't have the client's phone number, or maybe the phone number is not functional, you can obviously email the OTP if you have to. So that choice is there. Next question again, I think a lot on question on OTP. Like I said, and it's one of the cool functions we introduced, and really happy to hear that it's replacing our traditional access code. So Christopher, the next question is, will OTP be used with the email attachments?
Any email that you're sending, so the thing is, the OTP is actually a one-time thing. You're not really going to be sending, for each email that you send to your client, you don't need an OTP. The first time your foreign national, whoever else gets an email from you, gets a bunch of stuff from you, they are required to actually create a username and password. That username and password can only be created once they get the OTP. So let's say you created the client, your foreign national has gone through the OTP, they've created a username and password, and you send another item to them, they can access that as well. All right, so they don't need to constantly go ahead and create a new username, a new password, just a one-time thing. So whether it's an email attachment or if it's no, actually, wait, I don't think email attachments would be required, right?
Yeah, so any email that goes even as an attachment would have an OTP, because let's say you can email the questionnaires and all the advanced options as an attachment. So yes and no in different ways. So it's depending on how it's been used. So your answer is right.
Yeah. So yes, it can have it.
Yeah. So what we do for this particular question, because it's based on scenario, we would respond based on scenarios to you, so you would know when the OTP is applied under what scenario. So we'll do that with the response through email. All right. There's an interesting question. This would go for Chris. You might have to help me with this one. With the one-time passcode or the password, if the foreign national is having issues with the questionnaires or the document, is there a way for us to still sign on as them and troubleshoot the potential issues? Tricky one.
That's not
So
recommended too.
absolutely, this is
Yeah,
not something.
that's not best practice.
Absolutely not. I don't. How do I explain this delicately? You should not be doing. That is the answer. You should not be doing this. Um, Besides everything else, it is actually a breach of security, and like you should not share your passwords. This is just literally that. You should not. Once they've created a username and password, can they share it with you? Sure, they can. Should you be sharing it? Should you be collecting and using it? That's debatable, and that's up to you. As a best practice, like just like how Shadow mentioned right now, no, we highly recommend you do not do that. The rest I leave up to you.
All right. Thanks, Christopher. Yes, for sure, it is not a best practice, but with some of the ways how we troubleshoot. So when you have issues, our first approach is not to get your login credentials, but our first approach is to a screen share. So if you already have, since most of us are remote right now, and to connect with your teams, you're using different apps like the Zoom, we use Ring Central, we use Teams. So I would recommend, to do a screen share with your client and see what's going on. And it hardly takes a few minutes to set it up. So yes, so the recommended is to do a screen share. But then I don't foresee much of a challenge. I know why this question is coming, because that's the easiest way if we can get in as a client and check what's going on. But then I would say a screen share would be perfect to, to take care of this issue.
Absolutely.
All right. Does OTP apply when we attach documents with an upload? I'm assuming the
Document
question
check,
is,
document checklist.
yeah. So does the OTP apply for that, Christopher?
Yes, it does. So when they upload, they're not uploading it back to you on an email. They're uploading it on the, our page, so the INSZoom page. So once again, to get back into that, they need an OTP to access and create the username and password, and then get access to the page where they can upload the documents. So yes, it will apply for that as well.
All right. Sorry, I'm just looking at the next question now and seeing if I can pick that up. So next question is, we like to copy and paste the questionnaire link instead of sending email through Zoom. Can we still do that using the OTP feature? Wow. Questionnaire link, Christopher, instead of sending email? Tricky
Again,
one,
not
right?
yeah, again, not recommended. Um,
So, I'm going to step in over here, just to give you all an idea of why we introduced OTP, and there are various other reasons. Which obviously we can share if you want to connect with us after this webinar. So there was instance where one of the caseworkers emailed the questionnaire and document checklist to a foreign national of a specific corporate client. However, that email went to a wrong employee. So someone else reviewed the data, reviewed the documents, which was already uploaded, which is again a breach to the security. So the whole idea about the OTP introduction is to make sure the right person gets the email and the right person is viewing the details. So that's the reason. So I know this is the easiest way. There's so many easier way we can accomplish various different tasks, but then yeah, we would recommend to use the send email. I'm not sure if all of you have tried using the to do feature onto the left rather than going to our traditional compose email page. You can assign to do through to do function. You can assign emails for getting the questionnaire and documents as well. So try that out. But Christopher, anything else that you can think of, that you want to share about this?
no, the scenario that you gave is the absolute worst case scenario that something like this could happen. The wrong email goes out, the wrong person gets access, they see sensitive data, it's an invasion of privacy. You could be set up for a lot of trouble. I understand there are easier ways to do things, but like Shadow is always mentioning, the best practice, the way we keep ourselves safe, the way we mitigate our risks and put our controls in place is by using the OTP features, sending them in the right way. This is the best practice. This is what we recommend.
And
Yeah, that's about
sorry, Arun, if they have issues like implementing or making sure that their case managers are doing, they can always reach out to us and we can help them on how to effectively implement these things so that they don't do the shortcuts. While it's what Christopher said, shortcuts are fun and easy, but they put you at a bigger risk, and in the long run it will put you more trouble than make your life easier. So reach out to us. We can always help you implement these things so that it's more effective for your office or for your firm.
Very good. Very good. So in fact, there's one question which we just covered through the last question is, what is the risk for our firm if we choose not to use these additional features? So that's exactly what we shared right now. The risk involved is really high.
Yeah.
Each one comes with a different risk. Let's starting with multi-factor authentication is a complete different risk. If someone gets the login credential to log in to a caseworker's account, obviously that's a security breach, but an additional layer of security will make sure right person is logged in. Same goes with the OTP. The right person is getting the email from the caseworker with the actual client data. And of course, EConsent is an important function that you should consider in order to comply, for various reasons, anything that you to do with giving a portal access, accessing the questionnaire. In fact, I remember one of the client asking me, can we use EConsent when we have most of our cases are family based, where an adult is filling up the questionnaire for the minor. So we want to get a consent from the adult before completing the questionnaire. So yes, there are risks involved. So if you don't use it for various purposes, and if you do need more details, like Shadow mentioned, the fear of how to set this up, you don't need to have that fear, because we're there to help you. As in when you're ready to implement any of these features, just let us know, and we'll walk you through the process. So having said that, I will take one last question, and since we have 2 minutes, the next question is, okay, I'll take two. So there's one easy one, which is, could you guys also send a return presentation and record of this? I believe we would be sending you the recording of this webinar. So the answer is yes. Not sure about the presentation. I have to check on that. What if I don't use portals? Can I still apply EConsent? And I think Christopher, go for it. Yeah.
Yes, if you're not using portals, you can use EConsent by just emailing the EConsent out to them. So in my example, the very first thing I did was created the EConsent, and the example that I use is I'm sending out a questionnaire, I'm sending out a document checklist. I want a statement of truthfulness. I want to ensure that the client or the foreign national who's providing information in the questionnaire or in the document checklist, they're actually providing information up to the best of their knowledge. So by providing that, I want them to provide that consent before they even access that. So I can select a consent to be sent in that email where I'm sending out the questionnaires and document checklists. Once and only once they provide that consent can they actually access those questionnaires and document checklists. So yes, you can send it by email. You don't have to use the portals. You can send it by email as well.
Perfect. Christopher, I'm so sorry. I'm going to pick one more question. This seems to be really important to avoid confusion. Does any email sent to clients will request OTP even if you're not sending questionnaire document checklist? So I think the question is more towards, are these OTP going to be predefined setup in emails, or is it for the caseworkers to select OTP as a function to send out emails to the client?
I'm a little confused on the question. Could you repeat that, Arun?
Yeah, so sorry, I was also confused while reading. So let me try again. So I believe that my understanding to the question is, do you always need to use OTP when emailing out to the clients, whether they're emailing just to get some details and not sending questionnaires and document checklists? So for any emails, is OTP required?
If you're just sending regular emails without any attachments, without them filling out questionnaire or anything else like that, or document checklist, something that they need to access, you can send it without the OTP. It'll just go out. They'll get the email as is. All right. But if it's an email where they need to access a link, then they'll need the OTP to create their username and password to actually access the items that you've sent. If it's just a communication email, you're good.
All right. Perfect. So there are more questions and really good ones, but then we want to respect everyone's time. So like I mentioned, give us 2 business days to get all your questions with the answers sent out to all the attendees. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to email at csm@INSZoom.com. If you do have my email, you can send directly to me or connect with me. Again, thank you so much for joining today's session. It was really nice to meet some of you through. I know I can see who all attended today, so some of you have been connected before. So thank you for taking time to join us. I hope you all are staying healthy, safe, and again, join us for the future webinars as well. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.